Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of TokYo-Yo Talk. I'm your host, T, and with me today is the one, the only, you know him, you love him. It's Sam Hicks of YouTube and Instagram fame. What's up, dude?
Hi, what's up? Thanks for having me on.
I've actually been on your show before.
Yes, Spring Tension podcast.
That's right. And actually, as well as telling us about string tension, maybe we can start with a little bit of intro about yourself. Can you tell us
Okay.
about you? I'm sure everybody knows who you are, but just in case they don't.
I'm Sam Hicks. I make YouTube videos and tutorials, unboxings, and a podcast on my channel that I do with Tom over at Thurs and Brews. We just uploaded a new episode with Michael Furtico, so be sure to go check that out after you're done watching this.
Basically, how did your YouTube channel get started? Was somebody like asking you to post stuff or suggested it, or was it something you started on your own?
I just kind of started it on my own. I made like my first trick ever. It wasn't a very good trick, but I decided to make a tutorial on it because I enjoyed editing before doing that, and I just wanted to make YouTube content for everybody in the yo-yo community to watch.
You said you really liked editing.
Yeah,
Do you do other stuff on the side besides yo-yo editing, like YouTube editing?
not really anymore. I do have a big project coming up soon that you will hear about soon
Mm-hmm.
that I am editing, but that will be a couple weeks away, maybe even a month or two away.
Any tease on that?
Well, I'm working with a lot of people in the community, and it's gonna be a yo-yo video.
All right.
That's all I can say.
All right. Fair enough. You heard it here first. Exclusive. All right. So besides the yo-yo stuff, are there any other skill toys you're into right now?
I started doing a little bit of beglery, but I really didn't learn anything. I am interested in getting into kadamas and stuff. And also I used to be really good at like magic, sleight of hand with cards and stuff. I used to do that a lot. I don't really do that.
Oh, that's awesome. Are you serious?
Yeah, stuff like that.
Oh. Do you find that being skilled with one of them kind of translates to others? Like, doing kind of stuff with your hands or being dexterous?
I think, yeah, a lot of the sleight of hand that I learned in magic over the couple years that I did it helps when I started to yo-yo. I wasn't as uncomfortable moving my hands in different ways, I guess, is how I could explain it. Yeah, because when you're doing certain sleight of hand, you have to learn how to move your hand in a smooth sort of way so that people can't notice what you're doing. And you do the same thing in yo-yos, so it does kind of translate from one to the other.
Cool. Thank you. The reason I'm asking, I'm so curious about that, is my wife is into that as well, and she's quite skilled. So she sometimes puts on shows for me, and I'm absolutely delighted every time. So that's awesome. So getting back actually to the channel, is there any reason you don't show your face or your voice in your videos?
Well, I do show my voice in the podcast,
True.
but I don't know. I just didn't start showing my face because I had such limited room, and I needed to get as much of the yo-yoing in frame as possible. And it just kind of became a thing on my channel. So there's no reason behind it.
No, there's no sinister backstory or anything like that.
No.
Okay. Darn. All right. And I noticed by watching your channel, there seems to be a pretty strong emphasis on technical tricks.
Yeah, I'm not like really good at tech as like people like Zammy and or some other people like Greg Angel, Nehemiah Peterson. Those guys on Tech Creators. I'm not as good as them at tech. I started to like speedy tricks a lot, but I like more creative tricks, and I try to make all my tricks flow more. That's what most of the emphasis on my tricks are, even if it doesn't come out in a trick. I appreciate a flowy style over a techie or speedy one.
Are there any players, you mentioned a couple people like on Tech Creators and stuff, are there any players you think that people should be watching right now?
I mean, if you're not watching the art guys, Jensen, Chuck, and Tyler, you definitely should be watching them. those are my top three players right now. I really appreciate all their styles, and I talked to Jensen a lot, and he's like a really nice guy. So yeah, definitely go check out those guys if you haven't seen them already. Yeah, they definitely have a different marketing approach than a lot of other companies. They seem to be more into having fun with the yo-yo and appreciate it as an art form instead of a sport. But I did see on their Instagram that they signed up for the World Yo-Yo Contest, so I'm really interested to see what they do there.
So actually, you mentioned the competition there. Do you compete regularly? And
No, I have not competed yet. I'm hoping to compete next year, the Ohio State Yo-Yo Contest. That is, if I can create enough tricks to make a routine that I'm proud of. If not, then just wait till the year after then.
Is there any specific reason you haven't competed? Just because you haven't built a routine you're happy with yet?
Like some people like Gentry and Jensen have been yo-yoing so long that their skill level is at about as high as it can be ever. So a lot of their tricks are the best they can make and the ones that they're most proud of. But I think that I'm still getting better and better. So every time I create a trick, and then by the time I've created 10 more, I'm not proud of that first trick that I made anymore. I don't think it's a representation of my style and my skill. So I kind of scrap that one and then do whatever is the newest stuff I've made. And until I'm constantly making stuff that I'm proud of and I think really represents my style, I don't think I'll be able to make a routine that I really like.
Your tutorials that you put on YouTube and actually your unboxings, everything I think really is extremely high quality.
Yeah, I really like something that looks clean. So in my tutorials, I try to get as plain of a background as I can find in my house. Like I used to film against this wall of like graffiti in my room. And I really like that because it was dark enough that you could see the string on it, and it looked nice. And now I'm filming on a wall that has two closet doors that are symmetrical, and I think that looks really nice too. But I try to make everything look clean, so by not showing my face and just showing the yo-yo and the string over my clothes in the background and putting music over it, I think it looks really clean.
Do you think that kind of like high quality content is important? Like I've seen a lot of people, like Instagram is sort of the platform of choice for a lot of yo-yo people now, and it's more like get it shot and put it out and then you're done. But I think some channels go above and beyond with their quality. Do you think that's important to the community or important to?
There needs to be some people who make higher quality content that isn't posted regularly, and there needs to be people who make less edited, I don't want to say lower quality. People like you and Tom who make videos very often, but they don't require as much editing, even though yours are edited pretty well. I think constant videos are very important for the community, just as important as a higher quality, shorter video that doesn't get posted as much.
Very good way to say it. Yeah, I think with mine it's heavily edited, but I think produced. It's not as produced, I think is maybe the way to say it. Like you put
it's cut up more.
In. Yeah.
You don't cut it down so much where it's only everything that is needed for the video.
Correct.
You leave in a lot of you talking about your opinions, and I think that's very important to the yo-yo community.
And then I love at the other end where you have your tutorials that are the essentials, and then you've got stuff like one of my favorite channels right now is, or one of my favorite series is Lorenzo Cubing's Throw Score.
Yeah, that would probably fall into the category that mine are in, because it's over music. He puts text on the screen and he only tells you what you need to know. He doesn't go on and on about what he thinks about the yo-yo and every little thing. He just tells you how it does at everything. Like if it's a good yo-yo for finger spins, he'll give it a certain rating for that. If it's a good yo-yo for grinds, he'll give it a certain rating for that. And that definitely falls into the same category that my videos are.
I've found that most of the guests I've had on this show so far are on the younger side of things. Quite young, in fact, for a couple of people. In the community right now, do you see a lot of the community is getting younger? Or do you think that maybe just the younger players are are more prolific with putting their content out there, or they're less, worried about what people are going to say. I'm trying to think of examples like maybe Blamin, who's the young man sponsored by Big Bang Bandolores. He puts stuff out quite regularly.
Yeah, I think it's, in my opinion, I think it's mostly just due to time. Kids have a lot of time on their hands, so a lot of younger people are making more content, whereas adults have, like, people who have, like, a wife and kids and a job, and they have a lot of stuff to keep up with. So a lot of adults don't have time to make as much content as kids do.
I never thought of it that practically. That's a very good point. All right, you solved it. As a YouTube person, I guess both of us, including people like Tom and other people like G2 Nate and stuff, do you think we have a responsibility to grow the community, or to make things better, or to improve the scene, or do you think it should be more like just kind of doing our own thing, and then, if we get followers, great. If we don't, then who cares?
I think we should all be trying to grow the community. I think everybody should be trying to grow the community. I don't think we really have an obligation to. I think we're allowed to do whatever we want, and if you choose to use your growing popularity as a way to grow the community, I think that's a good thing.
You did mention String Tension, your podcast that you do with Throws and Brews. How's that been going for you? Have you been enjoying the series?
Yeah, I really do enjoy the series. I'm trying to get more people on. I have a couple guests that I'm trying to get on, but it's really hard because of all our schedules. In the summer, I'm mostly free every day. There's a couple of days where I have stuff to do, but since Tom has a job, a wife, and kids, he can really only do it on days at night after his kids are in bed, on days where he doesn't have work the next day. Then the guests we are trying to have on also have a schedule that's hard to work around, so just trying to find a day to do it is the hardest part, but otherwise I've been really enjoying the podcast.
I think there's a really good space for it right now. There's really not a lot of long-form conversational content about yo-yos. You've got the Scales podcast, but beyond that, I don't know of a lot of other stuff.
Well, now you have this interview thing. That will be another thing that fits into that category. Mm-hmm. I've been really enjoying this series.
Oh, this one?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
First episode was really enjoyable to watch because you had so many on-screen things happening, and the conversations that you and Jode were having in the first episode were really fun to listen.
I'm glad you think so. She's quite wonderful, showing me her diagrams and drawings that she made, and she has these big stacks of research she had done, and she's an incredible person. Talking about string tension, is there someone like a dream guest you'd like to have on yet? And if it spoils a future guest, I don't want to do that. But
well, the dream guests are the ones that we're trying to have on. Or anybody who knows like people I like in the yo-yo community can probably figure out who those people are. But yeah, I've talked to all of them. They all seem down, but it's trying to work around all of our schedules. That's the fun part.
I've talked to a couple people on the show now who are sponsored, and we've talked about, is it worth it getting the sponsorship and the work you have to put in, and then after it happens, is it worth it, like the work it takes to maintain it? And I think a lot of people these days are really gung-ho about like, I gotta get sponsored. How do you get sponsored? That's always the big question, right?
Yeah. If I were a yo-yo company, I would look for people who are putting out content on a regular basis and people who have a lot of potential to become an influencer. I can't really think of any. I guess Brandon Vu's probably the best example of it because he makes reviews on his channel. He has a huge following that he worked to earn, and people take a lot of his stuff to heart. And I've personally bought yo-yos off of his reviews from what he said, like the unparalleled corruption I bought because of what he said about it. He said it was really fast playing, felt really light, and that's exactly what I like in a yo-yo. So I bought that yo-yo because of him, and Yeah, if I were a yo-yo company, or if I owned a yo-yo company, I would look for people like him who have a big influence on the community and are very talented players.
Do you think that sponsorship is worth all the hype that people give it?
People just want to be sponsored because they get a bunch of free yo-yos and stuff, and they don't have to put any work into it. But I feel like for the people who actually do get sponsored, they do put a lot of work into it, and it's not like, oh, I put up an occasional Instagram video and they'll just send me a bunch of free stuff every week or whatever. I think it's more like these people who are putting in a lot of time and effort into their craft are getting recognized by companies and then getting picked up by them. So it's not as easy as a lot of people seem to think it is.
Great answer. Yeah, I think a lot. You're totally right. When you see people who are sponsored by companies, they have that same character type of being like really cool or being very community facing. And then in the rest of the community, I think there tends to be a lot of noise, kind of like a lot of that, like, how do I get sponsored? Please sponsor me? Like a lot of that flying around in every direction. But you don't see the people who are getting sponsored. They don't have that type of character.
I agree. It seems like a lot of the people who ask companies to sponsor them are people who are like just kids online and really just want free stuff, I guess. Like, it's not going to be like, you don't see Dylan Kowalski going around asking like Yo-Yo Factory to sponsor him, because you know his name, and a lot of the people who have a name in the community don't seem like the type of person to go around and do that.
My last question here, before we get into Instagram questions, kind of on the same note, not of sponsorship, but working with companies. Both you and I have string series signature strings through Zipline Strings, Jeremy Park. How's it been working with Jeremy? Have you enjoyed that process?
Yeah, Jeremy is very, very nice, very easy to work with, and he's been really, really generous to me and to Tom and to Dylan and to you now. And it's been very easy working with him. He doesn't ask for a lot, and he tries to give as much as he can. And I've been really enjoying working with him, and I'm hoping I can work with him more in the future.
All right, cool. All right, so shall we get into our Instagram questions here?
Yeah, sure.
Great. Okay. We got a lot of questions from EOSX Draws, frequent commenter, at least on my content. I'm sure on other people's as well.
Mine too. Yeah. He's been very supportive of my content.
For sure, for sure. EOSX Draws, on a more serious note, least favorite company, thoughts on Yo-Yo Factory and Magic Yo-Yo. Ooh.
Okay. My thoughts on Yo-Yo Factory and Magic Yo-Yo. Personally, I think Yo-Yo Factory needs to step up their quality control a little bit more, because there are people who are selling stuff at the same price. Like, I brought up the Unparalleled Corruption earlier. It's a $50 yo-yo. It's made of 7075 metal. It was made by FPM, and mine is like 10 out of 10 dead smooth. It's the smoothest yo-yo I own, and it's the same price as like a Shutter or Horizon, which when you buy them, they might have anti-flaws, they might have like a little scratch on them, and they usually have a lot of vibe. Well, not a lot of vibe, but they're usually like around a 7 out of 10. So it's definitely noticeable, and you can definitely feel it. And I think that they need to work a little bit harder on their quality control. But at this point, I doubt they'll have to, because they have such a big following. And my thoughts on Magic Yo-Yo, I think there needs to be a company that makes really low-end, cheap yo-yos. But it seems like they're trying to step up their game recently, and they might be working into a higher quality and higher price yo-yo company right now, because they had the new bimetal they just put out. Isn't it like $200?
Oh, the Wolfgang.
Yeah.
That's it's about 100. Yeah.
Oh, it's 100. Okay. Well, still, it's a lot different than what you'd think a company like Magic Yo-Yo would be making. And from what I've heard, they're very high quality throws. So I'm sure they are they're good for the price, but I just don't think that's their place in the community. And if they want to become that type of company that makes higher end throws with higher quality, that's all right. But I think they were doing really good as a lower end company that made throws for around $10. Magic Yo-Yo has kind of built their name and their brand around being cheaper. And now that they're still applying that name to higher end throws, I think it might get a little bit of backlash.
I own a lot of Magic Yo-Yos. I like them a lot. But I had the same thing of where I'm probably one of the biggest, or maybe at least one of the most outspoken fans of the carp fin. Al Hassan Hamdi, who says, when will you do a face reveal?
I'm not really sure. I guess just when it's convenient for me. Like maybe if I start to do reviews or something. But I don't know. I'm working on getting like a better setup for filming videos. I want to get like a black background, like they have in like cabin tutorials and stuff. Make it look cleaner and better, and try to find a dedicated space to film them, so I don't have to set up everything when I want to make a video and then take it back all down when I want to actually use my room. But whenever I get a filming space that I'm comfortable with, I guess maybe then I'll show my face, but I'm not really sure.
Maybe it could be a thing you save for the last episode.
Yeah, I guess so.
Next one here is from T. Wells, another frequent commenter, very supportive person on YouTube and Instagram. What's the most money you'll spend on a yo-yo?
Probably around $300. I'm pretty interested in the titanium peak right now. That looks really cool. I don't have money for it right now, but I would probably be willing to pay $310 for that. But any more than that, like paying $400 or $500, seems a little high for me, at least. So yeah, probably around $300.
That's a collaboration with Luftwerk, is that right?
Yeah, Jeffrey Pang, yeah. He owns Luftwerk, and from what I've heard, he makes pretty high quality titanium yo-yos. So, and I really do like O-shapes right now. One of my favorite yo-yos is the Grail, the Art Grail. So that interests me a lot, a titanium O-shape.
Next question, from T. Wells. If you were able to have a signature throw, what kind of shape would you want?
Well, as I said before, I'm really into O-shapes right now. So it'd probably be like if you mix the Grail with the Kraken. I'd love like a very O-shaped, old school throw that was evenly weight distributed, so it didn't have a lot of weight pushed onto the rims or pushed into the center or anywhere. It'd just be about the even amount of weight through it, and then it would be like 60 millimeter yo-yo, because I really like the Kraken too.
What company would you want to design it or machine it or whatever? If you could go to any company and say like, hey, make this yo-yo for me.
Probably, I mean, One Drops in the United States, they seem like they'd be easy to contact and work with, and they have like machine shops. They have a warehouse with a bunch of machine shops, so it seemed like it would be the easiest to work with them. Not to be like their throw. If I wanted to make a throw for myself right now, I would ask One Drop.
I actually had one question. You mentioned the Grail and the Kraken. And there seems to be this kind of push recently towards more old school types of yo-yos, like more rounded or butterfly or whatever you want to call them.
I think Jensen and Charles probably started that when they started putting out throws like the Grail, and it got such a good response from the community. I think other companies wanted to jump on that, so I've seen like the C3 Bastet for like $55 for an old school O-shape. Looks pretty cool. I know Duncan's coming out with one that can put like freehand caps into, but it's a metal yo-yo. There's the Parlay, which looks really interesting, but nothing that I've seen is really like the Grail, because the Grail is slightly oversized. It has very even weight distribution, and it's a little bit wider than normal, and everything that I've been seeing is like mimicking old school throws. So stuff like the Parlay, where it's 53 millimeters in diameter. It's a undersized O-shape. I think that's what's kind of been the trend right now, and nothing's really been like the Grail yet.
It's interesting to me because I've talked to a couple of people who are more close to my age, mentioning, oh, I grew up with this yo-yo, or I threw a fireball or whatever, a raider.
Hmm.
And so a lot of people have a lot of love for the older style, or even if it's just nostalgia, thinking about what they grew up with and what's coming out now to kind of replicate that and feed that nostalgia. But it's interesting to hear somebody on the younger side who is kind of into that shape and size. Is there a reason for that, or?
I don't know. I was really into Jensen and Charles. Their like marketing, and Jensen and Charles are my two favorite players. So I really wanted to try one of their throws, and from what I've heard, the Grail was the best one. So me and Jensen were talking for a while, and I asked him if he had any ones left over from the last drop, and he said he had one more raw one. So I paid him for that, and he sent me it, and ever since then I've been kind of in love with that type of yo-yo, and I've been looking for more yo-yos like that.
That, I think, is that's the end of my questions. That's the end of our Instagram questions. Yeah, before we wrap up today, first of all, thanks so much for joining me. And is there anything you
Thank you
wanted
for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Is there anything you'd like to promote?
I guess go check out my YouTube channel. It's Sam Hicks. I make tutorials, unboxings, and hopefully I'll be coming out with a trick video soon. I host a podcast over there, and yeah, go check it out.
And also, please check out Sam Hicks on. You're not as what should I say, active, I guess, on Instagram. You just started recently, right?
Yeah, I'll post pictures and stuff on there. Maybe every once in a while, when I don't want to film a full video, I'll post like a trick circle, because it's free content, and any type of content I can put out is better than nothing.
Okay.
But I just got a new phone, which has a better camera on it, so hopefully it'll be a lot more convenient for me to start posting more over there. And I guess I can film a trick circle later today and post it up.
So basically, people should go check you out on both Sam Hicks, and then the E is, I believe the E is replaced by a 3, right?
Well, my name is actually Hicks, but I made it H3 because Sam Hicks was already taken for like an email and a YouTube channel, and a Reddit and Instagram account. So my favorite YouTuber at the time of making those accounts was H3 Productions. So I just made it H3CKS.
Oh, I'm such an idiot. I know your name, and I'm looking at it on the screen. I always have said Hicks, and then like when I saw that name, for some reason I'm like, it's an E. Like, jeez.
That's alright.
I need to eat my vegetables. I'm not thinking straight. Thank you. Thanks again for joining me today.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
And at the end of these, I like to ask the guest if they will say our catchphrase at the end, which is Sayonara.
Sayonara. You want to say it at the same time?
Sure, that sounds good.
Sayonara.
Nailed it.
All right.
Thank you so much.